Hello there, guys and gals. Aunt Diane here. Happy New Year. I'm hungover, but not from drinking. I was a really bad girl last night, and my partner and I just kept encouraging each other. Yeah, eat that cheesecake. It's fine. Whatever other junk we ate, cheesecake's sticking mostly in my mind and to my stomach. And I woke up this morning like, ugh. I mean, it was good while you taste it, and then your tummy and your guilt and all that. So I'm going to start my New Year's resolution today. Anyway, this movie I saw, I don't even know if it's a true story. Not that I was too lazy to look. Actually, I was. But it doesn't matter because it's a situation that could happen. So stay tuned. This lovely young lady is online searching for love. She happens to meet a guy online who's looking for the same thing. Um, this movie is not a catfish. He really is who he says he is. They're both intrigued with one another and decide to meet. When Kate first arrives at the bar, she sees the gentleman that she saw on video kind of having a bit of a dispute with another woman. And the other woman finally leaves. Kate says to the gentleman, "Did you want me to leave? Are you two in the middle of something?" He goes, "No, she's an ex, and we've been talking about this for months, and don't worry about it." She goes, "No problem. We all have exes." This gentleman is a worldwide jet setter, an art dealer with a lovely Australian accent, and his name is Walker. And he proves to be just as charming in person as he is online. They get to know each other, and there's a spark there right away. Kate wants to introduce her new man, Walker, to her friend Vivian. Now, Kate and Vivian know each other very well. They both work in real estate. Okay. Her friend Vivian is a little bit skeptical and says, "Why does he live in hotels?" And Kate says, "Because he travels all over. So it's hard to just have one, stable home where he's at." He eventually gets there, and he's charming as can be, and he's showing off all his knowledge and everything, and seems to impress Vivian, at least at first. Now here's where things get to be a little bit shady. At the restaurant, Walker is really impressing everybody with his knowledge of art. So Vivian says, "Oh, you must have heard of so-and-so gallery. It's a very popular gallery in Soho, in New York City." He goes, "Yes, yes, I've heard of it." And Vivian's kind of like making this face to herself. The check comes and he insists on paying the whole thing. He hands over his credit card, and the waitress comes back a minute later and says, "I'm sorry, but your card was declined." He goes, "Oh, really? Okay, let me just pay cash." So he pays cash. Back at Kate's house, because remember, he's living in a hotel for now. He's at Kate's house, and he goes, "I just wanted to let you know that the reason my credit card was declined was because I'd forgotten I had stopped it temporarily or something, because there are people going around and chasing me, and they could tell where I am by where my credit card is used." And of course, Kate is all, like concerned. Now, I didn't know if it was okay to show this on YouTube, but during this time, they're kind of, well, at least Kate is kind of half dressed. You could kind of see indirectly. So they must have already done the activity of bumping uglies. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing how quickly these girls hop into bed in these movies, and guys. Anyway, he's telling her about his problems and stuff, and he goes, "Now I'm afraid to use certain credit cards when I travel." So Kate says, "Well, then why don't you check out of the hotel and just stay here for a while until it blows over? She's got her own place." He said, "No, I've got to go on, trips to see my clients, but I don't know what to do." She goes, "I'll tell you what, you can use my credit card for like a week or so whenever you're traveling. And he acts like he doesn't want to do it. He goes, I've got plenty of cash. She goes, no, no, really, use my credit card. And he finally says, okay. Now, what's really funny about these Lifetime movies on YouTube is that usually not Lifetime itself puts it up. And sometimes the scenes are kind of out of order. You might notice if you happen to look for it. These are free, so I guess, the legitimate ones you pay for. I mean, I don't know. Okay, I don't know what kind of permission or whatever they have. Maybe they move around the scenes so that they're not breaking a copyright rule. But they show them talking about him before they even meet at the restaurant, although the restaurant scene has already happened. Okay, so keep that in mind. But the point I'm trying to make is the friend is really, really suspicious. She just gets, Kate just got off a FaceTime with the dashing young Walker, and he's showing pictures of him all over the world. And her friend, Vivian, is kind of still skeptical and says, Kate says he's in France right now in front of the ocean, by the Riviera. And her friend says, that background looks like California to me. Now you're going to think I'm crazy. Actually, I am crazy, but um, I could swear they showed the restaurant scene again. Okay, I'm pretty sure because if one of us gets up, my partner or the other one pauses the movie and then we come back, and it's just been so crazy around here that it's hard to make the best of every second. So please forgive me for that. But the gist of it is that they show the restaurant scene again. I'm pretty sure they show it again because then they show Vivian telling Kate that she caught Walker in a lie when she asked if he heard of a art gallery in Soho, and he said, yes, I've heard of it. And Vivian tells Kate there's no such restaurant. Kate gets a call from Walker, very suspicious, and he says, I need you to pick me up at this exact place. He gives the coordinates. She picks him up, and he's got these scars or boo-boos on his face. A bunch of bad guys beat him up, and she feels terrible about it. Kate goes to the store to get her poor baby some painkillers. And while she's gone, he starts snooping through her personal paperwork. Maybe he could see her financial portfolio, her bank accounts, whatever. But a minute later, she's coming back in the house. So he hurries up and puts it back. And she said, hey, guess what? I had some of these in my car, so I didn't have to go to the store. He goes, oh, thank you, darling. Can you get me a glass of water? She goes to get him a glass of water, and he runs and puts the files back or whatever. He puts them back where they were. She comes back in, brings water. She doesn't notice anything. She offers to take him to the hospital. He says, nah. Kate tells Loverboy about the conversation she had with Vivian that the art gallery doesn't exist. He goes, I know. She goes, well, why didn't you say something? He goes, because I didn't want to embarrass Vivian that she got the name wrong. So Kate's like, yeah, whatever, because Kate was sticking up during that conversation. Oh, his name is in the paper all over, yada, yada, yada. And then she goes and gets something and gives it to him. She goes, here's a credit card. I could only get a $15,000 credit limit. And he's like, oh, thank you, darling. She then catches Loverboy on the phone. He's like, yes, give me 7 days or whatever. He sees her and he's like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you later. And he hangs up the call. And she's like, what's the matter? He goes, I have to leave the country for a couple days. It's an emergency. It's one of my clients. And then he goes, how much cash do you have in your bank that I could take out? She's like, well, I only have a couple thousand. And he goes, well, what about your, savings or your 401k or whatever? He goes, I promise I'll pay you back. She goes, no problem. So she lets him have the money. I guess he can get it out of the bank with the card she gave him. And then he goes, she goes, what if something happens to you? He goes, oh, I've drawn this up for you. He gives her a fake will. She's like, what is this? It's my will. If anything happens to me, everything is yours. After Prince Charming leaves for his trip, and after another caution talk from her friend Vivian, who she works with, she gets to thinking and she looks through Walker's social media profiles and finds another woman on there, a very attractive woman, and she meets her at an outdoor cafe. And the woman's telling her he's wonderful. Hold on to him. There's, not another man like him out there. When Kate gets home, a female detective shows up at her door and she said, your credit card is over limit, and it usually isn't. You usually only charge a couple hundred. And Kate says, well, this was somebody's birthday or some kind of crap, she told her. And the detective says, are you letting somebody else use your card? She said, yes, see, he's my fiance, some kind of crap. So the detective goes, what's his name? She gives the name. He said, no. This guy is a fraud. He's using a different name. Shows a picture of him. Says he does this to women. And Kate doesn't believe it. She said, but he gave me $10,000 to hold until he gets back from his trip. He also left his valuable art portfolio here. Well, the detective looks through it and says, these are just posters that he probably bought from a museum gift shop. Of course, the female cop lets him know that he's a scammer, woos one woman, gets money from her, goes to the next woman, spends that money from the first woman to woo the second woman. Anyway, and it keeps going on and on and on. The officer says, can you do me a favor, Kate? Pretend that nothing is wrong when he gets back from his trip. We want to stop him from doing this to somebody else. Now, since Prince Charming went way over Kate's credit limit, the female cop told Kate that, it's going to ruin your credit score. It's going to make your interest go up. And Kate's like, I don't mind. He's going to pay me back. And the officer convinces her, no, he's not. So the officer decides to sit outside and case the house all night. Kate is invited to do a podcast and tell about her experience with this scammer. She gives the fake name of the scammer, the real name, and she kind of puts a warning out there for all other women, which Mr. Charming hears, and he's not too happy and starts threatening her. Because of the threats, the female officer that came and warned her about the scam will be watching her house. As a policewoman is walking around with a flashlight because she thinks she hears something in the yard, someone comes from behind her and knocks her out. At this point, we don't know if she's just knocked out or deceased. Kate does not know that the female cop was attacked and, could be dead or lying around, who knows. She gets up to bring her a cup of coffee in the morning and notices she's not in the car. At that point, she is captured by somebody from behind. You see her tied up. She cannot move, but her mouth is not gagged. And she says to Prince Charming, where am I? He said, you don't need to know. But if you yell, nobody will hear you. Walker, or Stephen, or whatever his name is, said, you ruined my whole life. How could you do that? Everybody heard that podcast. Now I'm ruined for good. And Kate is very nervous, of course, and she says, well, I can always help you. We can do it again. I can be your partner. And of course, he's not buying that. She's saying that to try to, get out. Meanwhile, she says, I haven't had anything to eat all day. Is there anything to eat here? Now, this is a strange house. She has no idea where she is. He goes, let me go check in the kitchen if there's anything. While he's in the kitchen, she notices her hands are a little bit loose, and she's working them to try to get them looser as he's in the other room. Just as Kate's hands are starting to get loose, Walker comes out of the kitchen, and threatens her. You better give me your account number and your password because he wants to transfer the money to his account. She says no, gets her hands all the way loose, throws something at him or pushes him and runs out the door. Vivian goes looking for Kate, knocks at the door. There's no answer. She even lets herself in with a key. She's not in the house. Her car is there. She goes back out in the yard and sees the lady cop tied to a bench. So at least she's alive. And she's like, oh my God. She unties her and says, are you okay? Yeah. The car's here, so she couldn't have driven anywhere. Let's try calling her. They try calling her, and the phone is ringing, of course, while Kate is still, tied up. At that point, Mr. Charming says, oh, they're looking for you. And at that point is when she knocks him out and runs out. I don't know why they showed those two parts separately. I don't know. Now, this is pretty funny because they don't show what happens in between. But all of a sudden, Walker is sitting on top of Kate, choking her. I guess that's the second time he questioned her and stuff. But they don't show him attacking her and choking her. He just, after she runs out the door, he's magically sitting on her and threatening her. Then you hear cop cars. I do not know how the other ladies knew where Walker and Kate were. He runs out the door, by the way. The next scene they show in the movie is, I don't mean to laugh, I can't help it. The next scene that you see in this movie is Kate laying in a hospital bed, and her friend Vivian, and the lady cop, whose name I'm sorry, she's a good lady, standing there saying, oh, thank God you're okay. The FBI, the cop says, the FBI is after him and they'll get him eventually, so you're very brave, you're a hero, yada, 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 yada. See this dude with the glasses? His name is now Roger. I forgot what the redhead lady's name is, but they just met in a museum in Paris. So he has not yet been caught. Be careful.